I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm taking the taboos of menopause and peri-menopause and bringing light to the dark. No bullshit, no shame. It's time for us to gain a new paradigm in female health, out with the old and in with the new, and I'm bringing fresh perspectives from someone in the arena. I've been practicing women's health for nearly 20 years, and I'm spilling the tea on what it means to live at midlife, knowing that the best is yet to come. I'm sharing my Gen X approach to living through this transition. Sassy, a bit sweary, and always honest. Tactical tips and instantly usable information is my aim. I hope to make you laugh and that you learn something new that helps you embrace the change. Together, we bring power to the peri. Onward to the podcast. Hello, listeners. Dr. Fiona Lovely here. This is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. Thanks for letting me be in your ear for a little bit of time today. I'm always so grateful. And I just want to welcome everybody that's new to listening to the show. I know we've had a lot of new listeners recently, and thank you for joining me. I never take it for granted that I get to spend a little bit of time with you, and I just want to say thank you. Now, I've got a great episode for you today. I know I always say that because my guests are so awesome, but today I've got Dani Hamilton joining me. She is an expert at circadian rhythms, blood sugar, and metabolic health. Now, you go, oh my God, it sounds like another sciencey conversation. Yeah, it is. They're science, but I know you can handle it. You listen to this show, so I know you're smart already. And this is really usable stuff that's so helpful for overall health, especially at midlife. So tune into this conversation because Dani and I cover everything from, why your blood sugar is important to why following the sun and the rhythms of the sun are important, how we got away from it, what spending all the time inside with our blue light does for us, and also how us Canadians, or in the northern parts of the globe, even the southern parts too, not nearly as populated down there though, that how we can follow the rhythms of the sun, even when it's in the middle of the dead of winter, how it is we go about doing this. So we talk about a broad ranging array of topics, and I promise you there is something here for everyone. I took so many notes. It's bananas. I've got all these notes sitting here in front of me, and I'm trying to decide what to tell you. Just take my word for it and listen to the show. You'll get something out of it, I promise. Let me introduce my guest. Dani Hamilton is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and renowned blood sugar expert, specializing in using a personalized circadian and quantum approach to optimizing metabolic health. Her journey into this specialized field was fueled by her personal battle with PCOS, hypoglycemia, acne, and weight loss resistance, which she successfully reversed after learning that blood sugar issues and metabolic issues were at the root. After working with clients for several years and helping hundreds reverse their metabolic issues like insulin resistance, there were others who continued to struggle despite doing everything right. Encouraged to dig deeper, Dani turned to nature for answers and discovered the incredible power of light, water, and magnetism to help optimize not only metabolic health, but every single aspect of health. Lit up by the sun's healing powers, she now uses a circadian and quantum approach as a foundation for helping her clients heal. Dani's on a mission to help the world get back to nature, to heal the blood sugar, up-level their energy, and feel great. She's the host of the Top 50 Nutrition podcast, Light Up Your Metabolism. She's also the creator of the transformative Blood Sugar Mastery Program and a brand new program called Get Your D, which made us laugh when she dropped the title. She talks more about that in the show. You can find Dani on Facebook at Danielle Hamilton Health or on her website, www.daniellehamiltonhealth.com. I hope you get as much out of this conversation as I did. Man, all these beautiful experts coming on the show. Who needs school? They school me. I hope you feel the same way. Take care. Thank you for listening. Welcome to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and today I'm joined with Dani Hamilton has come to the show. She's coming to talk to us about metabolic health, circadian rhythm, the importance of sunlight, and blood sugar. Did I miss anything big? Dani, welcome to the show.
No, you nailed it. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about all these things. Thanks for having me on, Fiona.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Well, we met each other a couple months ago via Zoom, so we haven't met in person, but we've got all these people that we know.
Yes, so many mutual friends.
So many mutual friends, and they all tell me how brilliant you are. And so I can't wait to sort of unpack your brilliance on the show, if we will.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. And as we started off this conversation, today happens to be Friday, June the 13th, which is a very sacred day for women. Of course, this is the day of Venus, but also women have 13 menstrual cycles in a year. And
there
so
should have been 13 months.
Well, there should have been 13. Absolutely. See, these are the things you're going to teach us today. So a very fortuitous day for these two goddesses to come together.
Yes.
They're about natural rhythms.
Yes.
Natural rhythms. So tell me, how did you find yourself an expert in metabolism, circadian rhythm, blood sugar? Break it down for us, please.
Okay, so I will give the abridged version so we have time to talk about more of the stuff that you guys really want to hear. But basically, I struggled with a lot of health issues. I found a paleo diet. I was able to reverse severe allergies, asthma, chronic sinus infections, and heal my gut. I was, shouting it from the rooftops. And then a couple of years later, I moved from Miami, Florida to New York, and I started to develop a lot of hormonal symptoms. I was gaining weight. I had really bad cystic acne. Like I had always struggled with acne, but now it was on my cheeks and on my forehead. And I was like, I thought acne should have gotten better in your 20s. What's happening? And I missed my period for 6 months and then for 3 months. And every time I did get a period, I had horrible PMS and PMDD. I would break up with whoever I was dating. I mean, I was a hot mess when it came to my menstrual cycles. And I was sleeping till like 11 in the morning, and that wasn't like me. I felt like I had what people would call adrenal fatigue. And I was like, dude, this diet just healed me. And now something's happening. I don't understand it. And so I found out that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I looked online, and all the recommendations were like, don't have gluten, don't have dairy, don't have refined sugar. I was like, I'm doing all those things. Check, 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 So I just tried to paleo harder and nothing changed, obviously, because nothing changed. And so I ended up going on some pharmaceuticals and just really just trying to listen to every podcast and read every blog and soak up every bit of information I could about this issue. And I just wasn't finding anything that was really moving the needle for me until one day I heard a podcast that said PCOS is the diabetes of the ovaries. And I almost drove my car off the road. I was
serious.
I've
never heard that.
I know. I was in absolute shock when I heard that. And I was like, oh, so this has to do with my blood sugar? I was like, okay, what do we know about blood sugar? I was like, something about amputations, like because I worked in a nursing home and I was a speech therapist. And so I just knew that my clients with diabetes got a pink sugar packet, and a lot of them had amputations. And that's all I knew about diabetes. That was the extent of my knowledge, because I always just skipped over all those chapters in all the books that I have. I was like, I don't have diabetes. I don't have to care about this. And I couldn't have been more wrong.
All right, let's talk about skincare, because as a doctor, I often hear the same frustrations from women. Many clean or natural skincare lines sound wonderful, but let's be honest, they frequently lack the ingredients that actually trigger real, visible change in your skin. And for those of you who aren't quite ready for the Botox route just to feel and look younger, what can you do to truly tackle fine lines, texture, and age spots? This is what I want to know too. Here's the truth about aging skin. A significant part of those signs you see, the dullness, the lines, is simply a buildup of dead or damaged skin cells. If we can genuinely improve how your skin efficiently clears out those old cells and regenerates new ones, we can actually reverse aging, not just mask it. And that's precisely where Young Goose Skincare comes in. They've done something brilliant. They've merged the best of natural skincare with medical grade science to create what they call biohacking skincare. This isn't just about surface level improvement. It's clean, it's remarkably effective, and it's designed to penetrate your skin barrier to trigger fundamental change right at the cellular level, helping your skin truly function younger. While other brands might talk about reducing the appearance of aging, Young Goose goes deeper. Their formulas are specifically engineered to reverse the signs of aging by targeting the root cause in your skin, delivering real results. Now, how do they achieve this? Of course, it's by leveraging powerful science-backed ingredients like NAD boosters. They're included to recharge your skin's cellular energy and support vital collagen production. Spermidine works to activate autophagy, which is essentially your skin's natural process of clearing out old or damaged cells. They use senolytics to help remove those aging zombie cells that can actually slow down your skin's natural regeneration. And their copper peptide complex with neuropeptides is fantastic for improving elasticity, firmness, and visibly reducing lines. They also include many more cutting-edge ingredients that boost your skin's regenerative processes. This isn't about a quick fix. It's about genuinely changing the way your skin functions. This means it can heal more effectively, regenerate consistently, and ultimately stay youthful over a long period. So if you're ready for skincare that genuinely works and delivers on its promises, I highly recommend checking out Young Goose Skincare. You can find the link directly in the show notes or go to younggoose.com/lovely. That's younggoose.com with code LOVELY for 10% off your order. I use these products myself, and I can tell you they make all the difference in the world. Check it out.
And so I addressed my blood sugar with a paleo ketogenic diet and circadian aligned fasting, which I didn't know it was called that, but basically that means by skipping dinner, not skipping breakfast. And I didn't skip dinner every single night, but I incorporated different types of fasting. And within 5 months, I had no more PCOS. So I went back to nutritional therapy school. And I wanted to learn how to work with people, and I wanted to help people be able to heal themselves. And so I decided to specialize in blood sugar and metabolic health. And so I was doing that. I worked myself out of being a speech therapist. Thanks to working from home during COVID, and I was able to retire fully from speech therapy in September 2020. And this is what I've done since. But my clients have been such amazing teachers for me. I've learned so much through them. And I had so many clients having amazing transformations and these testimonials, these absolutely life-altering changes in their health, reversing type 2 diabetes, reversing prediabetes, reversing hypoglycemia and reactive hypoglycemia, reversing insulin resistance, losing weight, gaining energy, autoimmune disease is gone. Amazing things. Yet there were some people who were, quote, doing everything right. They were doing everything that I asked them, and things just weren't moving. And I started to see, as time went on, from around like 2021-ish to now, 2025, I find that people are sicker. I find that people have more complex issues. I find that people know a lot more than they used to, and everyone's learning, but we're not all getting better. We're all doing the thing. We're taking the supplements. We're counting our macros. We're wearing continuous glucose monitors. People are doing a lot of things. We're cutting carbs. We're exercising. They're fasting. But people were just not getting better. And so I had a friend of mine who had a story where she was in her early 40s and couldn't get pregnant and had a lot of losses and was able to get pregnant. And she also lost some weight. And I was watching her journey, and she was really diving into this area called quantum and circadian biology. And I was like, I don't really know what those words are, but this is very intriguing to me because I've always loved the sun. And so I'm like, okay, you tell me that to go in the sun, like I'm in. I moved from New York to Florida. I did end up moving back to Florida, by the way, and now I'm in Texas. So I've always followed the sun. And so I started to learn about these. So those words are really big, and we can go into those, but an overarching simplified view is that when we're talking about circadian biology, we're talking about our natural rhythm in a day. We're also referring to circannual rhythms, so yearly rhythms of the earth. And we're also talking about the word quantum in this sense is referring to the smallest particles. So things like photons of light, electrons, and protons, things like that. And if you want to go even further, there's a debate on whether particles actually even exist. It's more like frequencies, but we won't go there today. And so we're going to talk about those small little things that we have to go back to science class and be like, oh yeah, electron is negative, proton's positive. I remember that, a photon of light. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're looking actually instead of at biochemistry with these concepts, we're actually looking at biophysics. So some of the science gets really complicated and I don't fully understand all of it. But the cool part is that the application of these ideas and these practices to help us become more aligned with the rhythms of nature are so simple. Like go outside and touch a plant or like wake up and
Yes.
watch the sunrise. Like very simple things to do, very complex science behind it, but very simple things to do. So I already mentioned the thing about the sunrise. So one of the things that I learned was that infrared light is, it's very healing. That's why we put it in these panels, behind us.
Hmm.
And so infrared light from the sun makes up about 49% of the sun. And that infrared light dominates around sunrise and sunset. And so when we go outside and watch sunrise, a bunch of amazing things happen. But we also get one of those things is that we get flooded with all this infrared light. And I learned that infrared makes our mitochondria utilize glucose more efficiently. And so in plain English, that means that infrared light lowers our blood sugar. So I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, this is insane. There's so many studies showing this to be true. I have some of my clients doing experiments where they eat breakfast inside, stay inside for about an hour or two, versus eating breakfast outside. Doesn't matter really what time of year, as long as it's not too hot that you're getting kind of like a spike of your blood sugar from the heat. And, in the morning, it's not usually super hot. So you go outside and they eat their breakfast, same breakfast, better blood sugar response. And I was like, whoa, this is freaking cool.
Yes, let's unpack this a little bit. So
Yes,
you said, tell me the thing again about mitochondria responding to the sun and blood sugar. Let's talk about that business right there, please.
sure. So infrared light from the sun, which makes up about half of sunlight,
Yep.
helps our mitochondria
Yes.
utilize glucose more efficiently. So it's basically burning it up faster. So that's how it actually helps to lower our blood sugar. That's a very simplified way of saying it. So, yeah, isn't that
Okay.
wild?
Oh my God.
I
That's
know. No
that's
one tells us
huge.
this.
No,
And
I'm
and
literally taking notes, everybody that's listening. I'm like, I
so
gotta unpack
yeah.
this. I'm going to look at the science on
Yeah.
that because
So,
I can't
yeah.
wait to learn more.
So if you think about too, then you start to think about our modern environments and you think, okay, we're behind closed windows. Those windows are energy efficient. Our light bulbs have changed from beautiful, warm incandescents, which I have
Yeah.
right here,
Yeah.
where remember when you were younger and you used to change a light bulb? It was
Yep.
hot, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now they're not hot anymore. Why are they not hot? They took out the infrared. So when we switch from incandescents to LEDs, our light bulbs no longer contain any infrared light. Our windows are energy efficient. Our appliance, everything's energy efficient. We have the temperature controlled. I'm here in the US, so I'm going to say, Fahrenheit, but we're at like a nice 70 something degrees Fahrenheit. And we're so temperature controlled. So what is happening in our indoor environments? It's devoid of infrared light and it's rich in blue light. And blue light that's not accompanied by that infrared light. So in the sun, the blue light is accompanied by infrared in an LED light bulb or in our phone screens. It's just unopposed artificial blue light with no infrared. And what does that blue light do? Raises our blood sugar, our cortisol, and our insulin in the absence of food. So even in the absence of food, we can raise our blood sugar by being exposed to artificial blue light. And so our indoor environments, they're not only devoid of infrared, so our mitochondria are struggling because they don't have that beautiful input of the infrared, which, by the way, makes 95% of our melatonin. 95%. You can look this up. I looked it up. I was like, this can't be true. 95% of our melatonin is made in our mitochondria during the day from mostly infrared light. Like
Wow.
insane. So our mitochondria
Yeah.
are struggling so much to produce energy, and then they're being told like, "Oh my gosh, it's the middle of the day when we flip on the lights at night before we go to sleep." So being inside is a blood sugar disaster. And how much time do we spend indoors? Like
Well,
93% of our day. We mostly
yes.
spend indoors, some people more than that. Isn't that
What
wild?
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, when I think about all the conversations I've had with patients over the years about sleep hygiene, people
Hmm.
can't fall asleep. And the
Yeah.
conversation always goes something like this. How many hours before you're trying to go to sleep are you staring at your device? Which, of course, is a very concentrated amount of blue light in this
Hmm.
little tiny box here.
Yeah.
And so, what I tell them is make sure you've got an hour ahead of time, at least before going to bed, when you're not staring at the blue box of some kind. But what I'm hearing you say is that it goes far deeper than that, and it's an all day long situation.
It is. It is. And I love that you're saying that. And that's like the tip of the iceberg. We also have the option, if you're watching the video, one,
Mm.
two, three, I'm clicking my phone 3 times and you can turn the phone red. Yours isn't going to do that. You have to set it up.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
have, I have a post on Instagram. If you want, I can send it. And so you could put it in the show notes for
Please
people to
do.
just learn how to
Yes.
do that
Yes.
little trick to turn the phone screen red. If you
Yep.
have an Android, you can use the Twilight app to turn your phone screen red. So what we want to think about, we'll start with sunset. So we're going to start with the day backwards. If you want, we can
Please.
talk about these
Please.
different times of day that are really important to either be avoiding certain light or going after certain light.
I'm
And
just going to say this before
yeah.
you say another thing. I'm literally turning off my ring light because it's super blue. I'm not nearly
Yes.
as cute, but it's all good. So
I'm
please go
so glad you
on.
are. Yes, I have a window cracked open a little bit.
Yep.
I have natural light. I refuse to use a ring light no matter what. And I have
Yeah.
this light to bring infrared into the environment. So,
Yes.
and I have my
Awesome.
my computer screen. There's an app. I'm not sponsored by them, but I love it. Iris Tech. I pay like $1.99 a month. So
Okay.
Iris Tech Co, I believe.
Okay.
And there's like a little slider. And so when you slide it all the way to the right, it turns all the way white,
Okay.
aka blue. And
Yeah.
then if you turn it, slide it to the left, it's all the way red, but you can have degrees of like different amber in
Okay.
between. So you're pulling out some of that intense blue. So it kind of blends into the background. So I would have my yellow lens blue
Mm.
blocking glasses on right now,
Yeah.
but I
Yes.
don't really need to because I pulled the blue out of the environment by
Okay.
changing my computer screen. So going back to sunset. So we want to think about after sunset, what would have happened with our ancestors? We would have maybe made a fire, right?
Mhm.
And we wouldn't have turned on any lights because there were no lights. So it would have been dark and we may have had firelight. We may have had moonlight, which is actually extremely dim. It's only 1 lux of brightness, which is extremely, extremely dim. So even though it feels very bright, it's not that bright. But firelight was all that we had to light our environment, and we had a lot of darkness. Now, that darkness plays a critical role, and darkness is very rare in our modern day. We know it's affecting the animals, we know it's affecting migration pathways, it's affecting sea turtles, it's also affecting human beings because darkness is required for pineal melatonin to get released in the evening. And so we can sleep and we can repair. A lot of people think of melatonin equals sleep. Melatonin also runs nearly all of the repair processes in your body. So if
Mhm.
we don't maximize melatonin, that's where we're getting antioxidation, we're getting healing repair. So we need to be in a very dark environment. So we want our bedrooms to be pitch black. You should not be able to see your hand in front of your face. And so that's a goal for people. Everything that I'm saying, these could be goals that you work on. Do not think that you have to do this by tomorrow, but don't sleep with the TV on. Don't sleep with a nightlight on if you can. We want to be taking that out of the environment. And then going back to how our ancestors lit up their environment, they would use firelight. And what color is fire? It's like orange, red, maybe a little yellow. And those are the colors of light that don't impact melatonin. If they're bright enough, they will. So you don't want to use a red light therapy panel after the sun goes down, because the brightness, it's so bright that even though the light is red, it would still interfere with our melatonin release. And so we want to think about dim, fire toned lighting at night. So see that little light behind you, the little Himalayan light?
Yep.
Perfect light for evening. And usually those come with a dimmer. I find incandescent bulbs. And so you have to go online and find those. They don't usually sell them at the stores. There's a really great website, again, not affiliated, 1000bulbs.com, the number 1000, and then bulbs.com. You can get really inexpensive incandescent bulbs. I also like to get a red incandescent for evening. So we think about the fire would have burned and it would have been sort of glowing and a little bit brighter. And then at the very end of the night, we would have had red glowing embers. And so I think of that as we're always trying to mimic the light environment of our ancestors. So we want to think of those red glowing embers. And so like a red little nightlight that you plug in, or a motion light. That's how I light up my home at night. And so this is so powerful because, and to give you guys a real world example, I tell people to do this and their blood sugar numbers are better the next day. Their sleep is deeper that night. I mean, it makes so much sense. If blue light is going to trigger you to release cortisol, cortisol opposes melatonin. So it blocks the release of it. So you're not going to sleep as deeply. So darkness and the absence of blue and the absence of brightness. So you can start by just turning off the overhead lights, because we have what are called melanopsin receptors in our eyes that are set up to receive light, and they sense the light from coming from above because the sun was high above. And where's the fire? On the ground. So we want to think in the evening also, if we want to be picky, we want to do lower lights. So a table lamp, just where your little light is on a dresser. That's great. So we don't want that overhead. So it actually gets really vibey. It's like real nice. If you use the red, your neighbors may think you're up to something a little fishy, but that's okay. It's okay. They can ask questions. You're fine. You're safe. You're not doing anything wrong. So
You gotta shake things up a little bit in this neighborhood. It's too boring anyway.
Exactly. If my neighbors don't think I'm weird enough, here's something else. So we want to have this really nice, glowy, fire toned environment in the evening. We also want to make sure our family members can see. This is very important, because if it's too dark and no one can see, your husband will be like, I'm turning on the light. And so they're not into it. And so this is where switching into incandescents are great. And then also investing in a pair of orange lens blue blocking glasses for the evening. And if your partner does not allow you, this is really hard for me. Like to to bridge conversations where you're not allowed to change the lights in your house, but that's some people's thing. The red lenses would be recommended. So what I do is the second the sun sets, these orange lenses go on, because this is going to block out all the blue and most of the green light. I will literally, if I kept these on during the day, I would start to become sleepy because my brain would think it's evening time because there's no more blue. That's how our body knows what to do, is the presence or absence of blue light. And think about all our devices, they're all dominated by blue. So we are confusing the heck out of our bodies all day long, right? So sometimes if we're opening our phone, it's like, oh, it's 3 p.m. So your body's going to do 3 p.m. stuff. We don't want it to do 3 p.m. stuff at 10 p.m. So these orange glasses are a really powerful way if your light environment isn't perfect. I personally wear these when driving on familiar roads. Please be safe. You make your own decisions. But don't wear the red ones when driving because you won't be able to see colors. With the orange ones you can. And so yeah, these glasses are amazing for helping people go to sleep and helping people have more restorative sleep and better metabolic health. And there was a study that showed that people who wore orange lens blue blocking glasses for 1 month for 2 hours before bed, which is not even necessarily enough depending on when the sun is setting, but they wore them 2 hours before bed for 1 month, and they had statistically significant improvements in their fasting blood sugar and HOMA-IR scores, which is a score of insulin resistance. So they had improvements in their metabolic health just from a pair of orange glasses, which is
Wow.
insane. So this stuff is not woo-woo. This is really based on in science, and I cannot not even tell you how many of my clients are like, these glasses have changed my life. So these are a great place to start. Huge fan of these. And these also, and I like starting sort of with the nighttime because it helps us to, if we can dial in the evening piece, you can start to go to bed earlier because you're going to be tired. You're not going to be strung out by this blue light that's making you think it's afternoon, right? So that's going to allow you to do the next step in this process, which is wake up with sunrise and see the sunrise. So
Let
yeah,
me ask this question about the orange lenses. Please
let's do
excuse my visitor. He just kind of comes and goes whenever he
it.
wants to. The cat just
I
walked
love
across the
them.
keyboard. Actually, I think they must know when there's another cat person around
For
because
sure.
he's usually better behaved. But, I also know better than to
I
try
called
to.
him in.
Yes, you did.
He heard me.
We got to mix things up. Okay, so this study that shows that the orange lenses worn 2 hours before bed
Mhm.
improve the blood sugar scores. Is that the only period of time during the day that you wear the orange lenses is just for that 2 hours? Or is it like something you want to wear them all day long? Does that make sense?
Yeah, great question. So the orange or red lenses are
Yes.
only to be worn when the sun is down.
The sun is down.
When the sun is
Okay.
down, this could be before sunrise. So you don't
Yes.
artificially start your circadian rhythm. So you don't wake up at let's say 6 a.m. in December when the sun might rise at like 7:30, and
Mhm.
you're not artificially starting your day too early. We always want to be on the sun's schedule, not our work schedule, not our kids' school schedule. We need our human physiology needs to be on the sun's schedule. That is what the circadian rhythm is.
Okay,
This
we got to
making
talk about
sense?
this.
Okay,
Yes, absolutely. And let's be practical for a minute,
let's be
okay?
practical.
Because I'm never
Hmm.
practical, so there's got to be
Okay,
a first. Okay, here in Alberta,
I know.
in November and December and January and February, even
Hmm.
4 p.m.,
Yep,
it's dark outside.
indeed.
And it doesn't actually get light outside until 8 a.m., maybe even 8:30. So this is it, hey? This is
This
when
is
you wear
it.
the okay. Because
This
here's the
is it.
thing. I love the idea of
Hmm.
being sluggish during those dark hours. However, I have a schedule and a job to uphold where other
Yep.
people are involved. So, how do
Hmm.
you go about managing that whole circadian rhythm, what we're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Please, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so this is sort of stepping into more of these circannual rhythms as well, which I'm happy to touch upon. And, if we think about it, in winter, that's the season of melatonin. That's the season of darkness. It's the
Mhm.
season of rest and repair and recovery. And so a lot of us have the same schedule all year round, and some of us cannot do anything to change that. And so we just have to do the best that we can. We can maybe change some other things. We can maybe say, I'm not going to go to a workout class after work in the winters because it's just not practical and it's not sending the right signals to my mitochondria. It's sending a signal, oh my gosh, it's pitch black and I must be running from a tiger right now. It doesn't see it as like, oh, a fun workout class, you know?
Wow. Okay. Who
Yeah.
thinks of their exercise class like that? That's so
Well,
useful.
right. So that's how I started to frame things because I see so many people who are so unwell, and they are the ones who are, quote, doing all the things, and they're fasting, they're trying to work out, yet their blood sugar is crashing, and they don't feel good after they work out, they don't feel good when they go in the hot sun, they don't have any stress tolerance or heat tolerance. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, what messages have you been getting? Like, oh, you've been doing keto for 3 years. Your body thinks, oh, there's no carbs. There must be a famine. Oh, she's fasting again. Yep. Famine again. Okay. Famine again. Oh, she's going to a workout class. Oh, must be running from a tiger. So if we start to look at our modern lifestyle as how our mitochondria are receiving that message, they are sensors. They're not just
Yes.
energy factories. They are literally sentient sensors, and they're scanning our internal environment and external environment for threats all the time. They're judging safety
Wow.
versus threat. They're judging hot versus cold, light versus dark, abundance versus scarcity. So when we're sending those signals, like if we're framing it in this way with our body, and we can say, like, oh gosh, I'm just feeling so run down. Or if you get a leptin test, which is something we could go into too, it's another metabolic hormone. It's not just the satiety hormone. It's it's a master metabolic and circadian hormone. But leptin is a hormone that tells us sort of how much abundance the body has been receiving versus scarcity. So if a leptin is too high, that's sort of signaling we've had too much of abundance, too long of summer. And so we've been in sort of a summer metabolism, this mTOR pathway, building growth. And that's where we see a lot of the population having insulin resistance, high blood sugar, metabolic syndrome. Most of those people, that 93% of people, also have high leptin. And so that's been saying, oh, we've been eating sugar and carbs and having tons of blue light and overdoing it for a long time. Lack of fasting, lack of famine, right? In nature, what do we have? We have summer followed by winter. If you go to the equator, we have rainy season followed by dry season. There's still seasons no matter where we are on this planet. And so you're looking at me like this is making so much sense. Does it
Listen,
not? Right?
absolutely. Like I'm sitting here, I'm going to be inappropriate with my language. I'm sitting here thinking commercialism and capitalism has fucked us royally.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah.
M'excuse mon français.
But yeah, it's that.
Wow.
So
And
we've been,
how do we
yeah.
this is I'm just listening to this and thinking, how do
Yeah.
in my own life, how can I start to embrace some of these rhythms? I thought I was
Yeah.
doing a pretty good job looking at the rhythms of the year. And, you've got the
Yeah.
fallow season and you've got the summer season, which is active. This is a whole other level, Dani. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And I can't take credit for this. I just kind of realized it and some things that I've learned, but I'm like, that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. So yes, we've been living in this capitalistic society that's like, do the same thing all the time. And then in our lovely holistic health world, we're like, biohack, intermittent fast, cold
Ladies,
plunge,
can we talk about
do all
energy
the
for a
things.
minute?
And no
I
one's talking
know
about
so
when.
many of you tell me
No
you're
one's talking
trying
about how
everything,
long.
the
No one's
supplements,
talking
the
about for
workouts,
whom.
the sleep
You know, if
hacks,
someone
but you're
has
still feeling
low
tired,
leptin, how do you
foggy,
get
or
low
just
leptin?
off.
Over
I
fasting,
get it
over
because I've been
ketoing,
there
over
too. Here's
calorie
what I've learned.
restricting,
True
yo-yo
energy starts
dieting,
way deeper than we
just that
think. It starts in our
constantly
cells.
sending
And
signals
as
of
we
scarcity
navigate
to the body.
perimenopause and menopause,
So I
our
was a person
cellular
who probably
energy
had high
naturally
leptin. It's not
declines.
something that I tested
That's
at the
where
time, but
timelines,
I did
MitoCare
ketosis
gummies
for
come in.
2 years, which I
These
would
are the
argue is way too
first
long.
ever
And then I
longevity
did low
gummies
carb after
powered
that,
by
and my leptin was
MitoCure,
going
the
low
only
because those
clinically
type of
proven form of
modalities lower
urolithin
your
A.
leptin. They
What
lower your
I love
insulin, they
about
lower your
them
blood
is
sugar.
that they're
Like
not
they're
just
pulling these
another
things
supplement
down.
promising a quick
And
fix.
so
They
what we don't
actually
do
work at the
is we don't
cellular level
stop.
to improve your
We don't say,
energy at
oh,
the source and help
I
with
think I've
strength
gotten
and
what I needed out of
endurance.
this protocol
In clinical
because we don't know how
studies,
to
they
do that.
increase
Like, I
muscle
don't even know how to
strength by
do
up
that.
to
Like, I'm just learning
12%
this
after
too as
just
a practitioner
16
who
weeks.
specializes in this stuff, right? So
Urolithin
we're
A
all
works at the
learning.
cellular
And
level to
so a
improve
lot of
energy
times
at the
people
source
come
by
to see me and their blood sugar is
transforming
crashing. They
cellular
have no
damage
stress
and
resilience. That picture I was telling
targeting
you
a
before,
key hallmark
those
of
people
aging,
often have low
helping to
leptin.
give you
So
sustained
their
energy
body is
to
not
feel like yourself
interpreting
again.
their
It's
workout
recharging
as
your
a hormetic
cellular
stressor.
batteries
And
to
oh my gosh,
combat
look,
the
a little bit of
natural
stress, and
decline in
that's
energy
okay. We ran from
production
a
that
tiger.
happens
We
as
beat
we
that sucker,
age.
and we're gonna get
These
stronger. Like
gummies are a
that's
game
not
changer.
how a
They're
stressed,
sugar-free,
low leptin
naturally
body
sweetened, and actually
is
taste
seeing a
good.
workout.
I
It's
keep mine
seeing
right
it
on my
like,
bathroom
oh my
vanity,
God,
so I
another day,
remember to
another
take
tiger,
them every
five
morning.
tigers. I open
If
my
you want to
email,
feel
another
like
one,
yourself again and
right?
stay
So,
strong as you
yeah.
age, you
So,
need to
what we
try
can
MitoPure
do to sort
gummies.
of bring
My
this
friends
in,
at
and we're
Timeline
definitely
are
going to talk
offering
about the sun
20%
because that's
off
going to be really
just for the
important, but we
listeners
want to look
of the
at
Not Your Mother's Menopause
doing what we
podcast.
can with
Head
the
to
light in terms of our light,
timeline.com/lovely20 to get
our
started.
artificial light
That's
exposure. And so that's going to be really important in
timeline.com/lovely20.
winter to just
Your
lean
cells
into
will thank
natural
you.
light sources, turn on a fire, light candles, get in a warm bath. That's not light, but it's infrared. So my
Yeah,
mind
but
was
you have
thinking it.
candles with your bath. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Of course
And
you do.
yeah,
Doesn't everybody?
right. And then maybe you make it your goal, like, actually, I'm going to take on a little bit more this summer so I can lighten up my load in the winter. Maybe that's something that you plan ahead for.
And wouldn't that be lovely if we were able to embrace, because to me, I see this as very feminine. Now, yes, the sun is
Yes.
masculine, the moon is the feminine,
But
right?
we're receiving, I talked about
Yes.
this with my friend yesterday, that she was like, something about being in the sun just feels so good. And she's like, it's something so deep. And I was like, I feel like it is this deep feminine energy of receiving
Yes.
healthy masculine.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
my
That's a
that was my
beautiful
take
way to
on it.
say it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago about we're doing all of these things, these biohacking things. How are we managing our menopausal symptoms? How are we managing the fact that we're not sleeping or that we don't feel good or that our blood sugar is uncontrollable? But maybe what we're doing is actually vastly overcomplicating what needs to be happening. And
Mhm.
okay, I'm trained as a chiropractor. I talk about this lots on so that's my professional designation. And what we're taught as chiropractors is deductive.
Mm.
Medicine teaches additive.
Mhm.
Okay. And our society is additive. So we always think we're deficit in something. Okay. And it's
Yeah.
that I call it um, this is what I actually say to my patients so they remember because, people think if a little bit's good, a lot's got to be really good. But that's not the whole picture. You're saying there's a rhythm to everything. But what I say to my patients is so that they remember it's not boobies or beer. More is not better. And then they remember, right? But this is the whole thing is instead of thinking it has to be biohacked, okay, fine, great. But as you said, what's the timing of it? Let's look at what makes sense to our biology, what is in our DNA.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be working with. The truth is, most people haven't a clue. So,
No.
as you've said, exercise means how many more times. Listen, this is the thing that women do with exercise, especially in perimenopause, is my waist is getting a little thicker, and there
More
are
must be better.
more must be better. I got to add in more exercise. I got to
And I have
stop,
to wake
eat
up at
less.
5 a.m.
Yes, and eat
And
less.
before I need to wake up at 5 a.m. before the sun even rises and go to a gym filled with blue light and Wi-Fi and run from tigers in a fake sun environment and dysregulate my circadian rhythm. Please, ladies, for the love of God, do not do that. Do not do that. There's no state of dysfunction that will make you better. I do not believe that there's any case for any person that will make you healthier. I think
Mm,
it is actually doing the opposite. And I hope that people take from this conversation permission to do less because
mm,
we are so constantly told that we need to be doing more and more and more. And I
mhm,
think some of us, maybe some people need to do more, right? Not everyone's the
mhm,
same. But
mhm.
some people, especially if you type A personality, go getter, perfectionist, you know who you are. I see you. You're me.
You too.
Yeah, where you guys are all listening to this podcast, like, oh, what can
Yes,
I learn? I
probably
can do
you
something
too.
else. I can incorporate new strategies. That's me.
Yes,
So I'm not.
yes,
I takes one to know one. I love you so much. And
yes,
the good
yes.
news, and you might cry. I might cry. um, when I was realizing all of this, I mean, I was sobbing because it's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, I finally have permission
Yeah.
to relax a little
Yes.
bit, to not do the extra class, to not have to stay into ketosis, to not have to do the fasting, to not have to like rush around. And actually, what the best thing I could do is like go outside and sit in the sun and put my feet on the ground and
Yes.
receive and
And
be.
receive. Oh my God. It's that space for softness. That
Mm,
is not something that we embrace as a society.
no.
That is not a thing. We've absolutely allowed the masculine to take over when in
Yeah.
fact the feminine is where the real power is. Um,
Hmm.
I had a patient yesterday who came to me thinking that there was a head injury that I could fix for them, and which is part of my work in my neurology practice. And I could see that hyper vigilance and hyper productivity for him was something he had been ruling from for a long time. And I asked him, I said, so have you have you have you considered your childhood trauma as the
Hmm.
source of this?
Hmm.
And he said, no, no, I don't have time for that. And and I said, no, 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 that's because it's ruling your life, right? And he
Yeah.
came in very much like, take I need another person, another practitioner to fix me. It's an outside fix me thing.
Mm.
And what you're talking about is essentially embracing the rhythms of Mother Nature. Oh my God, this is the ideal conversation for Friday the 13th. Who knew? The goddess did.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're saying, and I'm going to add on to that is that our body knows how to heal. If you cut your finger open, my friend just actually cut the tip of her finger off, and I was like, oh my God, that happened to me a couple of years ago. She's okay. But I'm like, it'll grow back. I remember, seeing, sorry, so gross. I won't go any further, but my finger grew back.
Yes, okay, good.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I didn't have to take a supplement. I didn't
yeah,
have to do a biohack.
yeah.
What did I have to do? I just had to allow my
Allow,
body to do
yes.
it. I had to put myself in an environment where my body received the signals and it knows what to do. I think that so many of us, and myself included, I'm honestly switching out of a functional paradigm
Mhm,
because I don't think, this is not to offend anyone, but this is just
mhm,
based on my learnings and my own experience that, sometimes I find myself, I'm doing a mold detox protocol and I'm taking a handful of supplements. I'm like, there's something about this that just it's not
mhm,
resonating. And I
mhm,
don't have all the answers yet, but I'm getting
mhm,
close to finding a lot more so that I can leave that paradigm behind.
mhm,
But I think that we're going to start seeing like this type of stuff
mhm,
really be the way of the future because I think that we've been trying to kind of play goddess a little with our
mhm,
body. Like, oh, my B12 is low. Why don't I take some B12? My glutathione's low. I'll take glutathione. And if I don't tolerate that, I'll take NAC. And oh, my inflammation and oxidation is off the charts. So let me take some, CoQ10 and antioxidants. But what happens to the body when the mitochondria are receiving signals of danger constantly over and over? They trigger something called the cell danger response. And what happens in the cell danger response? B12 and folate decrease, methylation reduces, glutathione conjugation reduces,
mhm, mhm,
oxidation, which is a sort of a byproduct of our mitochondria, meaning reactive oxygen species that get produced from our mitochondria, they increase. They are signalers. And then we go in and we're taking away the oxidation with the
wow.
antioxidants. We're supplementing. So I think that we almost started to learn too much with functional medicine and we're like,
Mhm,
"Oh, well this is low, so I better increase it."
yeah.
And again, I'm still learning, but I am starting to step away from this paradigm and step more into the sun into nature. And, there's more things to do than just literally lay on a beach, but I'm not saying that's a bad, that's not a bad start. So
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, I love this. So let's
yeah,
dig into what are
yeah.
those what does that look like when the sun rules your life? Talk about that, please.
Okay. Well, I work outside a lot. I am literally outside as often as I can be, and I'm out there. I live in Texas and I am out there typically in a bathing suit, sweating my butt off. And sometimes I can't be outside. It's just simply too hot or it's too cold because it does get kind of cold here in the winter. My hands get too cold to type, but I am outside as much as humanly possible. And if I can't be outside, I crack a window. So my eyes and my skin can receive the knowledge of what time it is. So, what time it is, let's come back to what time it is for a second. So, let's say you've taken a really long nap and you wake up and you're completely disoriented. You're like, "Oh my, what time is it? What day is it? Like, where am I?" Like we've all had those moments and it's like a little panic, right? It's a little bit like, "Oh my God, where am I? What time is it? Like, how long did I sleep?" Why is that the first thing that we think? It's always the first thing, right? It is the first thing our conscious mind does is tries to figure out what time it is. It orients it ourselves. So why do we do that? Well, because if we didn't know what time it was, we wouldn't know what to do, right? Why am I not decorating for Christmas right now? Because it's June 13th. That's why. Why am I not brushing my teeth and going to bed? Because it's the middle of the afternoon. It's not nighttime. So I need to know what day it is, what time it is, where I am in order to make decisions about what to do. And so that is why our body needs the proper light cues so it too knows what to do. We have trillions of cells and they are doing hundreds and thousands and who knows how many tasks every second. And that has to be orchestrated. So think about a beautiful orchestra and the conductor of the orchestra. Who's that conductor? Light, the sun. It could be your phone because light is the conductor. So I think about when there's like artificial light sources, like our street lights streaming in through the windows, or an iPad that we're on, or headlights that are now super bright and LEDs. I think about these artificial lights as if I'm watching an orchestra and the sun is up there conducting beautifully. And then these little kids from the audience go up and they just start messing around and like pretend conducting and throwing off the whole orchestra. That's what I think about these devices and these things as. They throw off our
That's
whole.
powerful.
I love analogies.
That's
Because for this
powerful.
stuff, yeah, right?
Yes.
So it's like, oh, it's making it go out of tune. It's telling a gene to turn on when it should be turning off. It's telling a hormone to be released when it should be waiting. Or we may, if we stay inside, we may not get that go ahead. So we might have all the thyroid hormones, but it doesn't get released because it never got that trigger of the UVA. So the sun is the primary conductor of the orchestra that is our body. All of our physiology, it runs on the presence of the sun's light and whatever type of light it is emitting, or the absence of that, which is darkness, which we've already talked about. So the most important time of day to be outside, not the only time you have to be outside, but I'm going to stress a point of importance is at sunrise. And I understand that this is very hard for certain people at certain latitudes at certain times of the year. So do the best you can.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So do the best you can. And if it's just ungodly, like 3 a.m, if you live in Sweden or something like that, or if the sun is never setting, we'll have to have a conversation. But I'm going to talk to the majority of people. If the sun's rising at 6 a.m., ideally we are outside at 5:55, ready for that sun to come up, feet on the earth, or you can use grounding shoes, or you can pinch a leaf, or you can touch a metal pole, or you can touch cement. All of those natural surfaces are conductive, and metals and natural stones and concrete that's not been treated. So you can touch that with any part of your body because we are fully conductive. If we forget that we conduct electricity, you can just stick your finger right into a socket. If you forget, don't do that. I'm just joking. But we conduct electricity. We actually are making more energy and electrical energy than a bolt of lightning at any given time, which it blew my mind. So, and the reason why we're stepping on the earth has to do with lightning is because the lightning strikes the earth and it charges it negatively. So now the earth has a negative charge and it's full of electrons. Remember we talked about those earlier? They have a negative charge. So when we step on the earth or touch the earth, we actually pull in electrons into our body because they flow from areas of high concentration to low. And so we are pulling in electrons, and those electrons go down, and stay with me for the science. I'm going to make it nice and easy. The electrons go down the electron transport chain in our mitochondria to make energy. So there's stuff in our little energy factories that makes energy. We need electrons to do that, to make ATP. We've heard of ATP. And cellular water. The thinking now is that it's not ATP, that's actually our cell's energy currency, but it's actually the water, which we've always looked at as a byproduct. This water, when it's made by our mitochondria, actually splits into separate charges. So water in a glass is neutral, right? We learned that in chemistry. It's pH of 7 or whatever. But the water that our mitochondria make and the water that's in our bodies surrounding our cells, we're also not liquid water, right? Like I'm not a bunch of sloshing around liquid. It's like a gel, right? So that's called structured water or exclusion zone water. That water splits into its charges. So it has a strong negative zone. That's that electron zone. And nothing can get in there except for an electron. And this water is surrounding all your cells. And that strong electron zone actually keeps stuff out like toxins and heavy metals. And so we need this strong negative charge. And then we have that proton gradient, which is positive charge. So now I just said we have a negative zone, a positive zone. What do we have? We have a battery. So we are actually a liquid crystalline water battery that conducts electricity, but we won't go too far into that. So we have to step on the ground to get electrons to power our mitochondria, to give us energy. The mainstream will have you think the only way we can get energy, electrons, is through food. Actually, that should only be a third of how we're getting energy. We should be getting energy from stepping on the earth, from the sun, especially UV light, as well as movement. That's why movement is so important. It's important for, lowering your blood sugar and building muscle. We need those things, but the movement from a biophysics standpoint is because we are powering our mitochondria that way. We're just creating free electrons. You could just move your wrists like this. You're making electrons. It's amazing. So grounding is huge. We want to think about getting as much grounding as possible. It's the best antioxidant. We talked about antioxidants before and how we're, playing God with this. Step on the earth. That's going to be a selective antioxidant, really powerful, very anti-inflammatory. You can see all these different imaging of red blood cells that no longer clump together because all the red blood cells have a strong negative charge now and they repel each other. So they're not clumped together where their charges were kind of attracting each other. Now, since they're also negative because you stepped on the ground, they separate and they flow better. So it improves blood flow. We also get that decrease of inflammation, and that you often see these scans where it's like red and glowing and hot and painful. And then the scan looks yellow and blue and green and cool. And so it's amazing what we can do. And we're also tapping into the natural frequencies of the earth. And this is where we are, again, receiving. We are in tune. We are bio-harmonizing, not biohacking. I like the term bio-harmonizing because it's like I am a biological being. I am part of nature and I will harmonize with nature. My body knows what to do when I put it in the nature. So that's grounding, that's electrons, that's easy water. Now let's talk about the sun. So we want to be outside at sunrise and we want to get all that infrared light on our eyes and on as much of our skin as we can show. But something else is important at sunrise, which is why I don't recommend a red light therapy panel at sunrise, because now we actually get the introduction of blue light into the environment. And blue light is not bad. I want to reiterate that. It's not bad. It's only bad in certain contexts when we take it away, the red and infrared. So blue and red, it's like the United States colors, like always need to be together. They have to be together for the best health outcomes possible.
Let's talk about something incredibly important, your heart health. You probably already know the stark statistic. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in the United States. Now, it's widely understood that men develop heart disease earlier in life than women. But what you might not know is that this difference starts to change as women age. By the age of 65, women begin to develop heart disease at the same rate as men. Why does this happen? Well, the sources tell us that declining estrogen levels play a significant role. Estrogen has a profound impact on our cardiovascular system. It actively improves our cholesterol levels, keeps inflammation down, increases crucial blood flow around the body, and even helps to reduce damaging free radicals. Think of estrogen as a vital protector for your heart. It's important for our heart health, too, to take minerals. Certain minerals, such as magnesium and boron, are highlighted as being essential nutrients that our hearts and bodies need to function at their peak performance. When your mineral levels drop, it can lead to a decline in both your estrogen levels and your overall heart health. This is why I'm so enthusiastic about my partnership with Beam Minerals. They have formulated a fantastic way to make getting your daily electrolytes and essential minerals absolutely effortless. Forget about cumbersome pills or messy powders. Beam Minerals offers a simple solution. Just a small shot each day provides your body with the natural, plant-based support it needs. Ready to take proactive steps for your heart health and overall well-being? Head on over to beamminerals.com and don't forget to use my special code LOVELY to receive a fantastic 20% off your first order of Beam Minerals. That's LOVELY. Thanks, Beam. Hey guys, Dr. Lovely here again. Sorry to butt in while you're listening to this episode. But in case you don't know, I send out an awesome newsletter every 2 weeks. It's called Fiona's Friday Favorites, and I'm getting lots of great feedback about it. I pack it full of the latest and greatest in menopause and peri-menopause information, whether it's research or treatment options, or my favorite supplement, or my favorite yoga pose, or recipe, or book, or podcast of that 2-week period. People are loving it. So go to drlovely.com. That's drlovely.com. And right at the top where it says shift here, enter your name and your email address, and we'll be sure to add you to the list of Fiona's Friday favorites. Thanks for listening.
So now we get that introduction of blue in the environment. And what does that do? The blue light slowly, gently turns on our cortisol. If we open our phone, blast ourselves with the phone, open the fridge, turn on a light, we get a blast of blue light without infrared. So that means a cortisol kind of spike. So a lot of women are dealing with high cortisol issues. A lot of women are dealing with high morning fasting blood sugars. What is the answer to this? Get outside, have the sunrise light be the first light you get in your eyes, step on the ground, and watch your fasting blood sugar come down. I had a client who had stubborn fasting blood sugar of like 104. I'm so sorry, I don't know the millimoles. I will
All good.
Divide for you. Give me a second. 104 divided by 18 is 5.7. So she was just stuck in that sort of pre-diabetic range and could not get her numbers down. And she went outside, watched sunrise for a couple weeks. I told her, instead of just looking through your window and opening your window, because the window, remember, blocks some light. So, and also you would want to take off glasses because glass will block some of that light. She started to go to the roof of her apartment building in a city in Mexico. And she stood there in that light, and her blood sugar went down from a 103 to an 83, or a 5.7 to a 4.6, which is ideal.
Unheard of for it to be 4.6. You just never see that unless it's kids, right?
Unless they're my clients.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I always think when I see not fasting blood sugar, an A1C that's close to 5, I was like, what are you doing? Because the rest of us want to know, you know?
Yeah. Well, standing out in the sun, I'm telling you. Like,
how long do you have to stand out there?
So the more, the better. When it comes to sunrise light, the more healing you have to do, the more is better. There are different schools of thought, and I'm going to say something that, I heard from the original people who I learned from. They would say, a couple of minutes is better than no minutes, and it certainly is. But I want you guys all to be kind of really brainstorming how to make this happen in a really meaningful way that's going to really move the needle. So I want to challenge you to be outside for an hour. And you're not going to be able to do it every day. And we have to take our perfectionistic things and be like, that is okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'll get them next time. But I want you, when I say an hour, it makes me start to think, oh God, okay, what can I do outside? I can go for a walk after my breakfast. I can take a phone call. I could switch that morning meeting to a phone call. I can, walk my dog. I can take my kids to the park. I can take my laptop and work outside. We all of a sudden start to brainstorm more ways to get outside. Now, I'm only inside because we're doing this podcast. I was outside before it, and I will be outside as soon as we finish. It's a beautiful day as well. So I'm just like, my body is aching to get outside. It just wants to be outside all the time. But so getting outside as often as you can, as long as you can, is going to be better. Now, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm smiling here as you're talking because I can literally hear my patients going, well, I can look at my phone while I'm outside, right? Which means that they didn't really get it, right?
I mean, I do look at my phone outside. I do work when I'm outside doing these things. And so, yes, ideally, we're not on our phones too, but I would rather have you be outside and get that light in your eye because that light is going to be much brighter than the phone's light. Now, is the Wi-Fi from that device a problem? Yes, it is. It's like invisible light that is very harmful for our mitochondria. It degrades that exclusion zone. It drives cellular dehydration, triggering that cell danger response. Oftentimes, histamine issues ensue as a result of dehydration from Wi-Fi. So think about if you put a steak in a microwave,
Ooh.
it would be rubbery, right?
Yeah,
Dehydrated.
yeah,
That is what non-native EMFs do to our cells. So we want to mitigate our exposure to that. So we would want to take off things like Apple Watches, turn your Aura Ring on Bluetooth, really minimize the wearables. And we want to, distance is our friend when it comes to EMFs. So pushing things away, not using things when they're charged. Actually, my computer is fully charged, so I'm going to unplug that. Turning your phone on airplane mode when you can, turning off, if you're on Wi-Fi, turn off cellular data. Turn off the Bluetooth if you're not using it. All these little things can help, but we don't want perfection to be the enemy of the good. I am still working on screens 12 hours a day. I am. That's
But
the
you're
reality where I am
outside
right
doing
now.
it.
I'm outside doing it, right? I'm looking into getting things hardwired so I don't have the Wi-Fi, right? So honestly, our life is like a battle between nature and
Yes.
technology. So
Wow.
it's like, how can we still use technology? Because we can't all. I wish I could throw this laptop into a river, but I can't.
Yeah.
It's that's the job that I have. So I'm doing things to mitigate it. Yellow glasses are great for daytime when you're inside and you can't mitigate that blue light.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this necklace. It's harmonizing
Mm-hmm.
EMFs.
Mm-hmm.
This company has a lot of studies that they do that show the beneficial effects of it. So I'm going to use the biology of belief and believe that this is helping me. But all of these things, at the end of the day, we don't want to be fearing what we can't control. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm in a place and there's high EMFs. I am safe. I am protected. I am fine. I'm healthy. I am resilient. I will be okay. Not, oh my God, there's EMFs. Oh my God, Dani said this was bad. This is so bad for, no, 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 no. We can't be doing that. So I'm telling you these things, and I want
Mm-hmm.
everyone to do this practice of, we have to practice letting go. We have to practice, remember, we are so resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies are so resilient. And
Mm-hmm.
so keep that in mind, lead with that, and then also control the controllables. So we want to get outside at sunrise. We want to get outside at UVA rise. So my friend Sarah Kleiner made an amazing app called My Circadian app,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows you all the times of the day that I'm going to talk about. So it shows you on a dashboard when the
I
sun
love that.
rises, when UVA starts, when UVB starts, what the UV index is, and it's just a real easy place to see because this is changing all the time. And so UVA rise or UVA light is an amazing light that helps us uh, conjugate amino acids into things like dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. It also
Mm-hmm.
creates beta endorphins.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone has mood issues or
Mm-hmm.
mental health
Mm-hmm.
issues, this
Yeah.
is why the sun makes you feel so good. And if anyone has thyroid issues, it also converts tyrosine into T3.
Wow.
So we get thyroid hormones, and it starts to build melanin, which is a pigment in our skin that is so magical that can actually split the water molecule. And so it can split the water molecule into, and we can get hydrogens. And so we can actually get antioxidants again from that, but also melanin has been
Mm-hmm.
used to make batteries. So it is a storage. Melanin is how we store the sun's energy. It is basically like the chlorophyll in plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's melanin in humans. So we want to start building that melanin in our
Mm-hmm.
skin from this UVA light, and that is going to help protect us when we go into UVB light, which is where we make vitamin D. So, a lot of people listening to this podcast are going to be surprised to hear me say that you can only make vitamin D from UVB light. You cannot make vitamin D from the sunrise. You cannot make it from UVA light. You can only make it from UVB, and UVB light is not available in all locations all year round. For example, Canada. It is not available probably from
Mm-hmm.
October to January or February or something like that, or
Probably more
March,
like April.
March or April. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that app will tell you
Okay.
when
I'm
that light
s-
is available.
I'm seriously downloading that as soon as we're done. Okay, let me
Yes,
ask the question because I
let's
can
do
feel
it.
it for my Canadians, my brothers and sisters. So you're suggesting going outside at sunrise. Now, there is a good portion of the year for us, and this is true for northern
Mhm.
parts, northern hemisphere countries around the world, where it might be 35 degrees below
Mhm.
0 Celsius at 8 o'clock in the morning when the sun rises in the middle of
Crack a
winter.
window. Crack a window and get that light
Yeah.
through your eyes.
Okay.
If it is dangerous to be outside, do not be outside.
Okay, I'm gonna laugh because Canadians, I mean, we're kind of used to it. We know how to cover up. That's the other thing is
Mhm.
if I'm going outside like that,
Mhm.
I am literally covered head to toe, except for
Yeah.
maybe my face. That's about the
Yeah.
only part that's out. So
Yeah.
how do we navigate that? Crack a
Well,
window.
I mean, yeah, crack a window. And winter is hard. Winter is where for you guys you want to lean into cold and darkness. And it's not hard to find either of those in Canada in the
Mm-mm,
winter, right?
mm-mm.
And so when it is safe, meaning like a safe temperature, not 35 below, but when it's if it's like 0 or if it's, 10 below Celsius or something like that, that temperature is going to be more you're going to be more able to expose yourself and do some cold exposure. When we expose ourselves to cold, we actually create light. We create our own light. We create some
Wow.
some ultraviolet B light. So they're starting to learn some things about how we can generate little amounts of vitamin D, but often in the winter, the melatonin sort of takes over a lot of roles of the vitamin D, but
Hmm.
also we store vitamin D.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
we hold on to a tan even better when we get cold. Think about like the Inuits in
Yeah.
Alaska,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, and they're eating food that their food is rich in vitamin D too, because they're probably
Mhm.
eating cod liver and things like that, and
Mhm.
all that fat, but they are exposed to cold. So, why was it that we as humans were able to migrate away from equatorial regions where we all had very dark skin into northern regions? What happened? What happened to our pigment? It got lighter.
Yes, it
It
left.
got
Yes.
lighter. And
Yeah.
so why? Why did we lose pigment as we got closer to the poles? Because we would die if we didn't. We would die if we didn't, because we would not be able to get sufficient vitamin D from the sun. Because melanin, the pigment of your skin, is a sunscreen. So, why do people of African ancestry have such dark skin? Because they need such a strong amount of sunscreen because the sun is so strong, so bright all year long. So, they have that melanin to protect them. Do they need sunscreen? No, they have natural sunscreen in their skin. Now, take that person with African ancestry and bring them to Canada. What happens? They are at a severe risk for vitamin D deficiency,
Hmm.
autoimmunity, and a lot of big problems that you can't just supplement your way out of. And so I want this message to come across to anyone who has darker skin, who's living at a latitude that's closer to the poles than their ancestors. These people are at a significant disadvantage in terms of their health. And so what I would recommend is definitely some sort of a sunlight so they can get vitamin D all throughout the year, and also to take tropical vacations and consider relocating. That's the last thing on the list, but consider relocating if it's a possibility for you. If it's not, get the light. Take a
Wow.
vacation.
That's
And
so
then,
interesting.
yeah. And then people who have an ancestry of more of like a lighter skin and they're
Hmm.
moving closer to the equator,
Hmm.
their disadvantage is not as hard as the other way around. But this is where these people, let's say you are from Ireland and you move to Miami, Florida, you are going to need to cover up. You are not going to be able to probably acclimate and build enough melanin to protect yourself from that sun down in that latitude. So, therefore, you would need to cover up in the middle of the day or seek shade, or at the very last resort, use a mineral sunscreen. But most people, like Fiona, you live in Canada and you
Hmm.
have lighter skin. You
Hmm.
can look up your skin tone. It's called the Fitzpatrick scale. And I
Hmm.
recommend people do this so they know like how much they can tan. And you are probably a 2 on the Fitzpatrick scale. It goes up to
Hmm.
6. I'm a 3. My dad's side of the family is Italian. So I can get really dark. My mom's side is Swedish. You get all the mitochondria from the mom. And
Hmm.
so apparently it's a good combo what I have, but my health has not been so good so far,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I'm going to start to use these things to my advantage. But
Yes.
um, you are set up where you could ideally, if you stay in Canada, never, ever, ever have to use 1 drop of sunscreen, ever, because you are living in an environment that is appropriate for your skin type. So, how do we prepare our skin for the sun? Morning light, see sunrise, get that UVA, build the natural sunscreen, the melanin, and then slowly have more and more UVB, making sure to get out when you burn, and you'll be able to be out in August all day with no sunscreen on whatsoever. And there's a very important 2 other steps to having safe and responsible sun exposure.
Hmm.
After we do those steps of the infrared, the UVA, the
Hmm.
UVB, now we need to watch the sunset, get that healing light. What does infrared light do that's high at sunset or in the panel? It reverses sun damage. It builds collagen. It reduces wrinkles. It reduces inflammation. It's an antioxidant. It
Hmm.
builds melatonin, which is that antioxidant. So, oh, cool. That helps to heal damage from the sun. And then what do? We have to embrace darkness. If we don't have darkness at night, we are going to perpetuate bad stuff happening to our skin. And in case anyone was wondering, I have done an extensive deep dive into the archive of studies, and I have grilled ChatGPT and AI, and I have said, show me a conclusive study that shows that the sun causes cancer. And 0 came up.
Mm.
So the
That's
sun,
important.
the
That's
sun
important. Yeah.
does not inherently cause cancer. We can misuse the sun. We can be and eating seed oils that are oxidizing when we're in the sun, being irresponsible and being deconditioned to the sun and just going on a tropical vacation and frying. That's irresponsible sun. That's user error. That's not the sun's fault. That's what I think.
User error. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Such great information. Like literally, I have so many notes here in front of me that as soon as we're off the call today, I'm going to go and just start researching because I love the sciencey bits. Of course I do.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing this. This is all really interesting. I have so many more questions for you. So of course
Yeah.
I'm going
We'll
to
do a
ask
part
if you,
two.
yes, please return to the show
Yeah, I'd
and
love to.
share the next bit because I just think there's so much useful information here, and I'm so fascinated by the connection between the sun and blood sugar. I want
Hmm.
to unpack that more the next time we talk,
Let's
please.
do it. Yeah. We
Yes.
can talk about meal timing. I have so much more stuff.
Yes, because
Yeah.
you one of the first things I wrote down when you started talking was circadian aligned fasting. Let's have that conversation the
Yeah.
next
We'll
time.
do it next time.
And
Yeah.
where can people find out more about you, Dani?
Yeah, so I hang out a lot on Instagram. Danielle Hamilton Health is my handle. That's also my website, daniellehamiltonhealth.com. I have a program coming out called Get That D. It is how to safely get vitamin D from the sun.
Great
And
name.
all
Great
sorts
name.
of other, diving way deeper into some of the stuff we talked about today. I have an upcoming course called the Circadian Method that's going to teach you about all the different lights and how long to be out and the glasses and all the things. So that's coming out soon as well.
Amazing.
And yeah, and my podcast is called Light Up Your Metabolism.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love this information. I mean, this is the
Yay.
ultimate, I know, bio-harmonization. I was going to say
Yes,
biohack. I mean, what better to biohack your life with than the sun? It's kind of the original, right? It's kind
the
of the
original.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ask all my guests a question at the end of the episode, and I would like to ask you this question now.
Okay.
Knowing what you know now, Dani Hamilton, goddess, what would you tell your younger self?
Um, oh gosh, I would just hug her. I would hug her and say, don't try so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love that.
that you're worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing some inner child work, so I'm just gonna skip to that. Yeah.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
great advice. Thank you
Yes.
so much for the show
Yes.
today.
You're so welcome.
The information and other content provided in this show, or in any linked materials, is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice, nor is the information a substitute for professional medical expertise or treatment. We are doctors, but we aren't your doctor. Seek your doctor's opinion. If you or any other person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical treatment. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have heard in this podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The opinions and views expressed on this page and in this show have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, health practice, or other institution. Thank you.